are Locked On Seahawks, your daily Seattle Seahawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, 12s. Happy Blue Friday to one and all. I am your host for today, Nick Lee. I am here with the distinguished Rob Rang. We are here to send you into the weekend, hoping to arm you with info and content ahead of the biggest Seahawks game of the year to date. Let's get rolling. Thank you for making Locked On Seahawks your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Thanks for listening. Now for your league story here on Locked On Seahawks. It's the middle of the season. Bye weeks are starting to be put in the rearview mirror by several teams, and attrition is setting in. Injuries are piling up. We know how this goes. It's the dog days of the NFL, so to speak, and especially on the Arizona side. But the Seahawks also have some issues with the injury report. So let's rifle through Thursday's injury report after following Thursday's practice for both sides and get some takeaways. So, Rob, let's start with the Arizona Cardinals side. What stuck out to you as you looked at Thursday's injury report?
Well, I think you have to start out at the quarterback position, Nick. I mean, with Kyler Murray, he has been a limited participant each of the last couple of days. So I think that he is trending in the right direction from an Arizona Cardinals perspective. But at the same time, DeAndre Hopkins has not participated in either of the last 2 days. And so that, from a Seahawks perspective, is obviously good news. Budda Baker, I think, is maybe the biggest news from the Arizona Cardinals perspective. He went from limited practice on Wednesday to a did not participate on Thursday. So, you know, the University of Washington standout, former second-round pick for the Arizona Cardinals, and, you know, obviously a spectacular player for them. You know, if he is not played, that might absolutely change Seattle's game plan moving forward.
Yeah, the Budda Baker one might be a bit underrated. He might miss out on a chance to get revenge on DK Metcalf for turning him into an endless meme, GIF, highlight reel, you name it. That play that DK Metcalf tracked him down, preventing a pick six, will live in infamy for Budda Baker and Cardinals fans, for sure. I mean, it's one of those coaching tapes that you show players like, this is why you don't give up on a play kind of things. And so Budda Baker maybe wanting a little revenge this week, but he might get another chance down the line if he's healthy for game 2 between these two teams. But yeah, obviously Kyler Murray, you saw how just hapless the Cardinals looked when they didn't have Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, missing your literally two of maybe the top 5 most explosive players in the NFL in your same team, and you're missing both of that'll cause some issues. And you clearly saw that they were having issues in their previous game. So I think it's trending towards Kyler playing and DeAndre Hopkins not. And so I'm just, as a Seahawks fan, a reporter, player, whatever, you're expecting their best shot with Kyler Murray under center. You're not going to assume, oh, yeah, they're not going to have Kyler Murray. Colt McCoy is going to, we're not worried about that. No, you need to plan like Kyler Murray is not only going to play, but be on top of his game. And on the Seahawks side of things, especially with some of the issues they're already having being 3 and 6, that left tackle situation is abysmal right now, to be quite honest. Dwayne Brown did not practice Wednesday, was limited on Thursday. His status for Sunday is in doubt. And not only that, but Jamarco Jones, the backup tackle, has not practiced the last couple days. So that's a big deal. I think Jamarco Jones, normally in a normal week, you wouldn't think, okay, Jamarco Jones missing the game, not a huge deal. But when Dwayne Brown might miss the game, you're talking about being down to your third string left tackle, and moving guys around, shuffling the deck. What do you make of that situation at left tackle?
Well, I think it's very concerning, just considering the fact that the Arizona Cardinals have the 2 pass rushers that they have. You know, Chandler Jones gets a lot of buzz. Marcus Golden has, almost twice as many sacks so far, 9 sacks so far for the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, that is a fearsome duo. And so if the Seahawks do not have Dwayne Brown, and then you drop all the way down to perhaps Stone Forsythe, a day 3 selection left tackle position has not seen a very, very many snaps in the regular season so far, then yeah, that's got to be very concerning. Obviously Russell Wilson coming back from an injury, but that was a right middle finger. I think that Russell Wilson has to be a lot more concerned than just about his right middle finger if that is going to be the game that the Seahawks are playing at this point. If they don't have Dwayne Brown back there at left tackle. Now, let's be clear, Dwayne Brown has not been as good so far this season as he's been in the past, but still the drop off between Dwayne Brown and then perhaps Stone Forsythe, I think would be pretty significant. So, yeah, I think that is big, big news that Jamarco Jones has struggled with a back injury, has been limited or did not participate each of the last couple of days. With Dwayne Brown returning back to practice, even in a limited fashion, I do think that his veteran just presence, the fact that he has shown an ability, kind of played through injuries in the past, I think that the Seahawks are likely to see Dwayne Brown at left tackle. But if he is not available, that is got to be very much of a concern. And I think the fact that Alex Collins, we talked about Budda Baker before, that he had practiced earlier in the week for the Arizona Cardinals and then did not participate in Thursday. For Alex Collins, Seattle's presumptive number one back, to not participate today or on Thursday after after a limited participation on Wednesday, he's trending downward himself. So that's got to be a concern, and perhaps one of the reasons why Pete Carroll kind of mentioned Rashad Penny specifically a couple of times during his press conferences this week, as they need Rashad Penny to be able to play well this week. Maybe Pete Carroll is suggesting that Alex Collins may not be available.
Boy, that brings chills down my spine because I am not a big Rashad Penny fan, and it's tough because I'm a native San Diegan. I'm not a San Diego State fan, but I obviously have my pulse on San Diego sports, and they love Rashad Penny down there, and it's been a tough sledding for him here, and it's been a massive disappointment. It wasn't. I'm sure he's a good kid. I've never met him, but it's very frustrating. And I think the time to him to live up to his first round billing is long past. But if he ever wants to, maybe we're talking about trying out for a new team, or getting a deal down the road after this season. This is a game where you can really show out. And if you're Rashad Penny, I doubt he's listening, but this is, and he knows that he's no dummy. He knows this stuff. That this is a game. If Alex Collins does not play, Rashad Penny absolutely needs to come to play, and that's a big concern for me. And on the good news, Ryan Neal went from limited to full participant. Brandon Shell also. So on the right side of things, on the offensive line, Brandon Shell getting healthy there. So that's some good news to end out there. But yeah, clearly some concern along the left side of the offensive line, especially when you got Chandler Jones, who I believe still has the most sacks against Russell Wilson. Barely edging Aaron Donald, unless that number has changed, but it's 1-2 right there. Chandler Jones has just been a nightmare for the Seahawks, and Marcus Golden also. So you want to be as healthy as possible, and I would imagine 80-70% Dwayne Brown is probably a better option than 100% Stone Forsythe. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there. But yeah, we're going to have to wait and see on that. It's cross your finger mode there. So we'll talk about that later, I'm sure, with the Seahawks left tackle situation. When we come back, we'll talk about keys to victory against the Arizona Cardinals. It's going to be a tough game, but there are some possibilities for the Seahawks to scrounge together a big win at home against the mighty Arizona Cardinals when we come back. Don't go anywhere. This is the Locked On Seahawks podcast, your team every day. Hey, Seahawks fans, this is Nick Lee with an incredible app everyone who buys gas needs to know about, Get Upside. My listeners are making up to 25 cents more for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now. Use promo code TOUCHDOWN and get a bonus 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's up to 50 cents cash back. Don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Just download the app for free and use the promo code TOUCHDOWN to get up to 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. Some people who drive a lot more are making as much as $200 or $300 a month in cash back, and there's no catch. The cash back gets added right into your account. You can cash out at any time to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Get Upside app and use the promo code TOUCHDOWN to get up to 50 cents per gallon cash back on your first tank. Welcome back to the Locked On Seahawks podcast. I'm your host for the day, your substitute teacher, if you will, Nick Lee, along, of course, here with Rob Rang. And we're going to go now and break down some keys to victory against the Cardinals and a tough divisional matchup. We always know the Cardinals are going to give the Seahawks a tough game, even when the script was flipped and the Seahawks were the mighty ones in the division and the Cardinals were kind of the bottom feeders, or at least in fourth place or thereabouts. And then Cardinals usually have given them a game. Now that they are the big boys on the block, we'll see how the Seahawks can handle that. So Rob, let's break this down here, because of course we know it's the NFL. Any given Sunday, the Jaguars can beat the Patriots, and down the line there's some parity. Seahawks absolutely can win this game. It's a divisional game. We all know that. What is the first key for you for the Seahawks to get that big victory in Seattle?
Well, Nick, I think that the easy one to just say is that, well, Russell Wilson has to outplay Kyler Murray or Colt McCoy, but let's talk a little bit deeper than that. I think that the Seahawks are going to win this football game. Then they're going to have to be able to run the football, and that's again easy to say. And so let's just throw out a number. I think the Seahawks have to attain 125 positive yards of rushing, running the football. And if they are able to do that, I don't care if it's Alex Collins, I don't care if it's Rashad Penny, Travis Homer, DJ Dallas, whoever, or Russell Wilson, run the football. Because obviously, if you're doing so, then you are establishing the line of scrimmage. You are keeping a potentially very, very dynamic Arizona Cardinals offense off of the field. And so I'm just going to put a number out there. I think that you have to get to 125 rushing yards. And if Seattle is able to do that, to me, that would be one of the absolute keys of how you can secure a victory. And I think that this is a winnable game. And I don't really care who is the quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals. You run for 125 yards, you can beat this team.
Absolutely. And I'll go a little bit further. I think not only 125, I think that number would probably outgain the Cardinals. And that's what you want to do, because looking at the numbers, the Cardinals are 5-0 when they outrush their opponents, and only 3-2 when they get outrushed. So both of their losses this year have come when they've been outrushed. So there is a formula for that. Obviously, they want to go a bit more run heavy. If Kyler Murray is not back there, they want to ease in Colt McCoy there. But it's not just about rushing yards, too. It's about the tone of the game. And when you run the ball well, we all know this. The clock starts to shrink. The games are usually close, and you give yourself a puncher's chance in the fourth quarter if you can run the ball well. And that's really all I think we can ask for at this point, with how tough of a team this looks in the Cardinals, and how much the Seahawks are struggling. Just give yourself a puncher's chance in the fourth quarter at home and let the chips fall where they may, and you might like the result. And I think that'll help with a solid rushing game. And one of mine is I don't know. I've always loved this expression: avoid third and extra medium. And that's I don't know if that's a burger size or a shirt size or what, but what I mean by extra medium is not quite third and long, because obviously you want to avoid third and long. Obviously you want to avoid 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10. But I'm talking avoid like 3rd and 6, 3rd and 5. Get inside of 3rd and 5, because the numbers just bear out that the Cardinals are a solid team. The Cardinals are actually 10th best in preventing explosive plays on defense, and they're actually 5th in the NFL on third down defense. And meanwhile, the Seahawks are 30th in third down offense, third down conversions on offense. So that is not a good recipe. So in order to avoid some ugly third down conversion numbers, which the Cardinals have been producing on defense, you got to be 3rd and medium or better, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4 or better. Because if you get behind schedule against a team like this, against the Chandler Joneses and the Marcus Goldens, you're in trouble.
Yeah, you really are. And that's one of the reasons why I don't expect to see a lot of the jet sweeps and the toss sweeps and things like that are likely to either get you 10, 12, 14 plus yards, or have a 3 or 4 or 5 yard loss. I think you're going to see a little bit more of just running the ball right down Arizona Cardinals' throat. I mean, Arizona is a really talented defense, but one of the areas in which they've struggled is in just straight up run defense. You can run on this squad. And so that's one of the reasons why, again, I think that Seattle is very likely to try to run the ball as much as they possibly can against the Arizona Cardinals, and that to try to avoid those third and extra mediums. I think that's pretty well put, because that's exactly what I think Seattle has to do if they want to have any type of success in this game. I would argue that another one, and this is, again, it sounds like a bit of a cliche, but you have to avoid the mental mistakes. I mean, I thought that was a winnable game against the Green Bay Packers a week ago, and that there were some mental mistakes, whether it be Freddie Swain not fulfilling his block to allow Russell Wilson to get that first down yardage on Seattle's very first drive out of the game, and unfortunately from a Seattle perspective, they had to wind up punting there, or the Damian Lewis hold, or getting blowed over, that wound up being called as a hold that put them out of field goal position, perhaps put them out of position to tie the game going into halftime. You have to avoid those types of things. DK Metcalf, I think, has received plenty of concern because of the fact that he has had some penalties himself for some of his egregious behavior. And so I think those are the types of things that you have to avoid in this game. To me, the fact that Seattle is playing this game at Lumen Field at home, you don't have to worry about the crowd noise. You have to just play smart football. If you do, the more physical team can win this football game. If Seattle is the more physical team, as we talked about a moment ago, then I really do think that this is a game that they can win. But they have to actually do that. They have to play smart, and they have to eliminate all of the mental mistakes. If they can do so, then this is a game they can win.
And also that involves Russell Wilson, because he made some pretty poor decisions on Sunday in Lambeau Field. Very uncharacteristic of him. And now some of it is rust, I understand. Some of it is, no matter how good of a football player you are, and Russell Wilson is one of the best football players in the world, you sit down for a month, it's going to take some time to really get your sea legs back. And I think Russell Wilson struggled with that a little bit. But throwing into double coverage, throwing in the end zone where there's nobody open, and causing interceptions and huge momentum swinging interceptions, that's got to be done away with. That cannot happen against the Cardinals. And yeah, DK Metcalf, I love the guy. I'm a huge DK Metcalf fan. I've absolutely loved watching his career develop in Seattle, but he has made some very stupid mistakes. And the only penalty I want to see from him this Sunday is another violation of the goalpost. That's the only one I want to see. I'm okay with that. If it means the Seahawks won the game by a touchdown because he scored, go ahead and hug the goalpost, do whatever you want, get fined. I don't care. But score touchdowns and keep your mouth shut when guys are trying to get in your head, because clearly it's working, because he's the one getting the penalty. When we come back, we will talk about our picks to click and a game prediction perhaps for Sunday's matchup against the Arizona Cardinals. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Locked On Seahawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you haven't tried a Built Bar by now, you're missing out. They say it's a protein bar, but it doesn't taste like one. You have to try one of these amazing bars yourself to believe it. Most protein bars are chalky or waxy or just plain hard to choke down. A Built Bar is soft, covered in 100% real chocolate, and when you bite into it, you know you're eating something different. It's more of an experience, one that you'll enjoy. In fact, you'd swear you're eating a candy bar. Built Bars are low carb, low calorie, low fat, low sugar, and high in protein, all of the healthy benefits. And on top of just being purely delicious, there are so many flavors. And another thing about Built Bar, there are so many flavors, as I mentioned, including coconut, raspberry, mint brownie, coconut almond, salted caramel, double chocolate, and cherry barcia. Myself, I am a huge fan of the raspberry one and their new flavor, blueberry muffin. I am just in love with that. It's a great mid-round golf snack, or you want to skip maybe lunch and you're going to have a big dinner later. 130, 180 calories. Built Bars are so delicious. And this month, Built Bar is coming out with some new limited time flavor every 3 to 4 days. So check out their website often. You don't want to miss out. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off of built.com. BetOnline is back and better than ever. A new web interface for the start of the basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline is and remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Head to their new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports. Bet Online, where the game starts. Welcome back to the Locked On Seahawks podcast. Once again, I am your host for this wonderful Blue Friday, Nick Lee. With me, the distinguished Rob Rang. Now we're going to go over some picks to click and give a game prediction, a score, and results on how this game is going to go. And for Rob and I, we've been throwing around some players throughout this podcast of guys who need to step up in order for the Seahawks to win. But the reality is, other guys might, and it's just what do you think, Rob, on who is going to have a good game? Not maybe who needs to or who you want to, or maybe it is who you want to, but who do you think is going to be one of the players clicking this Sunday?
Well, I think if the Seahawks are going to win, then we got to talk a lot about the running game. We got to talk a lot about the quarterback. I thought that Russell Wilson, frankly, struggled. I think that you articulated it well. He lacked his sea legs. I think that's a really nice way of putting it. Lacked his sea legs this past week in Lambeau Field. And if he is going to come back and lead the Seahawks to a victory, a crucial victory, if they want to have any kind of postseason hopes, then he absolutely has to be better this weekend at Lumen Field. So I'm going to put the onus on the highest paid player on Seattle's roster, number 3, in Russell Wilson. If the Seahawks are going to win this football game, then Russell Wilson has to be better. Now, I think that is a tough task because this is a pass rush that's very, very good, as we talked about before. If the Seahawks are basically operating with one hand behind their back because Dwayne Brown is limited, perhaps Braden Shell is limited, going up against this pass rush, that is formidable. Going up against a secondary that is as talented with the ball hawks that the Arizona Cardinals have. I mean, just eliminate Budda Baker out of the equation just for a moment, and still you have guys like Byron Matthews that's a really good player. So I think that the Arizona Cardinals are a quality defense. But if the Seahawks are going to be able to pull off this victory, I think that you have to start with Russell Wilson. I think you have to start with running the football. And so that's where I'm going to start off with again. I think that Russell Wilson has to be very good in this game. You cannot have the mental mistakes that we talked about previously. He has to be able to feature some of Seattle's playmakers, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, D. Eskridge. I think that he has to have a big game performance against the Arizona Cardinals. And so I'll just kind of focus there for just a second. The Arizona Cardinals selected Rondale Moore earlier in the second round than Seattle selected D. Eskridge. And I thought that those are very similar players. They are guys that can do the jet sweeps, guys that can go deep. I think that the Seahawks with D. Eskridge have to be more effective than the Arizona Cardinals are with Rondale Moore. If DeAndre Hopkins is not available for the Cardinals, doesn't really even matter who the quarterback is. If DeAndre Hopkins is not available, then Rondale Moore, Christian Kirk, AJ Green, they're going to have to kind of step up for the Cardinals. D. Eskridge, in my opinion, has to step up for the Seahawks. And obviously, if Seattle's going to win, it's going to most likely be Russell Wilson who's getting the ball to D. Eskridge. And they have to actually produce points, not just statistics.
I mean, yeah, you took the words really right out of my mouth with D. Eskridge. He's a guy I think that you'd like to see more than 5 offensive snaps, 2 targets for -4 yards, because those were his stats last game. And I agree. I think that they're going to need him to produce more. He's one of their best picks. I mean, he's got to be that guy, and he has not been. I mean, part of it's not his fault with that concussion. He got popped in that first game against the Colts, and he's really struggled to recover since. And I just really want him to get going. And for me, on defense, the guy that I think could have a pretty decent game, coming off of his first interception of the year, Jamal Adams. And I just think this is a game that he could really showcase his skills. The Cardinals got a lot of athletes, including the quarterback. And Jamal Adams is a heck of an athlete. And he's a guy that could probably chase down Kyler Murray for a sack or two. And Kyler Murray is prone to a few sacks. I mean, especially if he's limited, if he does play, he's probably not at 100%. And that is something that maybe the Seahawks and Jamal Adams can dial up. It's time for his first sack. It's been way too long. It's time for Jamal Adams' first sack of the year. So I'm going to call it here. Gets his first sack. I think the Cardinals have done a decent job at protecting at times. But Kyler Murray, we know how that goes with Russell Wilson. Sometimes he holds on to the ball too long, trying to make a play, be a hero with his legs and athleticism, which he can absolutely at times, much like our guy number 3, but to his detriment sometimes. And I think Jamal Adams is a guy that can take advantage of that. Plus, he can match up well with some of the weapons that the Cardinals have. Maybe not so much in the past game with like DeAndre Hopkins. I'm hoping that there's no one-on-one Hopkins versus Adams matchups, or at least not very many of them if Hopkins does play. But and especially in the run game, I just like the matchup here with Jamal Adams to have a big game. So what on defense? Which guy or guys do you see coming forward?
Well, I appreciate that, Nick, because there are a couple of guys. I think that if Seattle is going to be able to pull off what's going to be an upset at this point, I mean, Seattle entered this game as a little bit of a favorite, 2-point favorite, and then now, Vegas and the experts out there have swung it over to the Arizona side, and they're saying now the Arizona Cardinals are going to walk into Seattle and be able to pull off this game. Arizona has now emerged the 2.5-point favorites. I think that you're right with the secondary, and I absolutely think that Jamal Adams could have a spectacular performance. This is exactly why John Schneider traded for him in the first place, is to have spectacular performances in games just like this. But I'm going to focus in on the guy who's rolling some hot dice at this point, and that's the rookie Trey Brown. Again, if DeAndre Hopkins is not on the field for the Arizona Cardinals, then they're going to have to focus in on AJ Green, Christian Kirk, and Rondale Moore, perhaps even the tight end Zach Ertz. And so that might be an opportunity for guys like Jamal Adams or Quandre Diggs. But again, Trey Brown, I just love the physicality, the want to, the tenacity of which he's been playing here recently. I think that he might be able to make a big play in this game, might be able to kind of move or change the momentum of this game with one of those big plays. And then I'd also mention a defensive lineman. Corbin and I talked earlier about Rodney Hudson, the All-Pro center that the Cardinals were able to trade for from the Las Vegas Raiders. And Rodney Hudson is a really good football player. But at the same time, he's battled some injuries. Max Garcia, his primary backup, has also battled some injuries, actually dealing with an Achilles injury, which is pretty significant injury. The starting left guard, Justin Pugh, also has struggled with injuries. So if there's a defensive lineman that I think that Seattle might be able to kind of change this game, then I think it might be Poona Ford. I think it might be from the inside rather than the outside. And so Poona Ford, to me, is a guy that I think might be able to kind of make a big play in this game. Perhaps it's Trey Brown or Jamal Adams that might be able to get the interception that is created because a guy like Poona Ford be able to create the interior pressure and forcing the quarterback, whoever he may be, to throw the ball up for grabs.
Yeah, there's some good points, Robin. There are certainly some avenues where the Seahawks can take advantage of and win this game. Absolutely. Now, speaking of which, let's talk about some game predictions here real fast and give us a score. I'm going to start first, and this is obviously, I'm calling this the biggest Seahawks game of the year for multiple reasons. One, if they have, any shot at the playoffs, they need to win this game. I know that technically, mathematically, they could still make the playoffs even if they lose this game, but just from where they're trending, where other teams are trending, and just feeling good about yourself, you need to win this game. And I think the Cardinals are going to come in also kind of not as much of a panic mode, but they're a little grumpy with how things have gone the last couple of weeks. And that could be dangerous for the Seahawks as well. Unfortunately, I just think that the Seahawks right now are plugging the dam with chewed gum. They're it's that cartoon where the guy's plugging holes in the dam with 5 different hands and the water keeps spewing out. I just feel like that's the Seahawks right now. And unfortunately, I'm not going to call this a blowout loss. I do think it's a battle because we saw if the Seahawks can battle in Green Bay and be in a position to win, they could be in a battle with just about anybody. But the Cardinals have too many weapons, especially if Murray's healthy. Even if Hopkins is not, if Murray plays and he distributes the football like a point guard, like he's been doing all year, that's problematic. And the Seahawks, on paper, certainly with some statistics, just don't give me great confidence they're going to get it done. And I think that there's a reckoning coming, and I think it's coming, and it stinks to say. I think the Cardinals end up winning this game 27-23. Seahawks battle to the end, give the 12s in the stands some hope, and then stomp on our hearts like they always love to do, or at least maybe not stomp on it always like they do, but they like to get our heart racing, win or lose. And I think this will be another one. But unfortunately, I just think the Cardinals just have too much firepower, and the Seahawks just have too much working against them.
Well, I think that you make a really good point, and I think that if the Seahawks are able to score 23 points as you just suggested, Nick, then I think they win, and that would be the optimistic side of this argument that I would present here at the end, is that if you can run the football down Arizona, and this is the 32nd ranked run defense in the NFL, then I think that this is a game that you can win. I'm not convinced at this point that Kyler Murray is going to come back for this game. I think that it's unlikely that DeAndre Hopkins comes back in this game. So as we talked about previously with the kind of the picks to click and the guys that we think might be able to stand out, to me, there's a couple of different factors here that I think are absolutely working in Seattle's favor. For one, the weather. This is Seattle weather, not Phoenix weather, and not playing in a dome. And so if the weather does come down as we kind of expect, it'll be a little bit cold and clammy, then I think that the team that can run the football might be able to get a little bit of an advantage here. I do not expect for Russell Wilson to have his most statistically impressive game, because like the pass rush for the Cardinals is that good. The secondary is that good. But again, I do think that Seattle has the depth of the running back position that they might be able to scratch out some yards. I think this is going to be a low scoring football game, and I almost have a hard time believing that myself, considering the quarterback talent that potentially is on the field. I think there is a scenario in which Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray basically just have an aerial assault, and this is a 30 to 35 kind of a game. But I think that this winds up becoming a little bit more of a ball control kind of football game. I think the Seahawks might be able to edge this one out. I'm going to say 17-14 Seattle, winning a little bit of a muddy, gritty kind of a game in which the Seahawks actually shocked the NFL like many other the underdogs have in the last couple of weeks.
Muddy gritty. I like that. I like that kind of description. I don't even know what it means, but I know exactly what it means at the same time. And something that I heard this earlier to this week, Colin Cowherd, everyone knows who he is, said that pretty teams win in September, tough teams win in November and December. And I think that's pretty true. And I think we're going to find out if the Cardinals are not only pretty, but tough. And I'm wondering if they are. And I think that there maybe is some leeway there to see if the Seahawks are tougher, because a game like this, colder, maybe, I don't know if it's going to downpour, but we're going to see which team is tougher. Obviously, the Cardinals are prettier, but we're going to find out who's tougher on Sunday. I hope I'm wrong. So put away your pitchforks there, Seahawks Twitter. Anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for making Locked On Seahawks your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. You can follow me at NickLee51. You can follow Rob at Rob Rang. Coming up on Monday, hopefully Corbin and Rob will be breaking down a huge Seahawks win, a muddy, gritty game, a muddy, gritty win for Seattle at home. Boy, they need that in the worst way. Either way, enjoy the game, 12s. Don't break your TVs, and go Hawks.